Are you ready to turn your vacation rental website into a booking powerhouse? In this episode, we're diving deep into the world of high converting websites with the brilliant Jodi Bourne. As a website strategist with a laser focus on direct bookings, Jody reveals the key ingredients to making your site not just a pretty page, but a revenue driving machine. We'll share the secrets behind what makes a vacation rental website truly shine. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the Direct Booking Success Podcast, bringing you all the information you need for your short-term rental to stand out from the crowd. I'm your host, Jen Boyles. As an owner and manager myself, I know how hard it can be to navigate the hospitality industry. I'm here to help, so you too can have direct booking success.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Direct Booking Success Podcast. I'm Jen Boyles, your host. Thank you for making this episode part of your day. Today, I have Jodi Bourne with me. Jody is the queen of vacation rental website design. And I was so grateful to have her as part of the Direct Booking Success Summit again in 2024. And her presentation was titled Your Digital Front Door, Creating a Welcoming and Trustworthy Book Direct Website that Converts Lookers into Bookers. So thank you, Jody, for joining me today. Great to see you.
You too, as well, Jen. I love it when we get to chat because we're the two JBs.
That's right. That's right. So let's start at the beginning. How did you start working with vacation rentals?
I started basically in 2013. Was working in tourism marketing. I was working for an events venue. And through that, the venue, with my direction, we won a tourism grant, which put me on the CVB of the local CVB, San Marcos, Texas, which is a medium-sized city. And I found the world of vacation rentals and was completely enamored by that. This was before Airbnb was big. I think it was in the big cities, maybe. And then after that job, I started working in the industry. I started working with the property management company, doing digital marketing for them. And then very soon thereafter, I don't think I worked for them for more than not even 9 months, just for differing issues. But I started out on my own working here in the Texas Hill Country with the local market, the local vacation rentals, helping the owners move to direct bookings. We didn't call it book direct back then. We called it, this is how you run a business. So, and yeah, that's what I was doing for years. Facebook ads, social media, teaching them email marketing, communications, and eventually had to design websites actually just right away I was designing websites because you can't book direct website.
That's right.
Or especially at the time you couldn't. Now there's some workarounds, not really great workarounds, but there are some workarounds. Anyway, and that's how I started. And eventually I just increased my scope and increased my expertise. And now I'm everywhere and I love it.
Yeah, I know this term direct booking, book direct, but before we even started calling it direct booking or book direct, there was that time where we were running our own businesses. So, how did you first identify that need for this approach? It was the beginning, early days of Airbnb, and people were looking at it as the holy grail, if you will. And what was the initial reaction when you started with clients?
Well, honestly, most of the clients that I started working with, I hate to say this because I don't want all the property managers out there to hate me, but they were leaving the property management company. There was a change in ownership, a change in direction. Lots of bad reviews were coming in. And so these owners were saying, hey, I need my own business. I can't count on the property management company any longer. And the property management company at that time had not been on any of the VRBOs or Airbnbs because they were the only game in town. And this is a tourist area and people were just looking for vacation homes on the river and everything. And so it never was even an option for several years for these people to be on a listing site. And then the first listing site that I did start helping people at was HomeAway at the time, now Verbo, which is headquartered right here in Austin. So they were hearing about it. And so It never was a deal. It never was like any kind of question at all. This is how you build a business. I've been marketing and building businesses for other industries for years. So it never even really occurred to me that now if I had a craft business, I wouldn't start out on Etsy. So when people start out this way, it's still even a surprise. I mean, I understand it's easy to get started with Airbnb and Verbo, but it's just not the way in my mind and yours that you build an independent business.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you, of course, because we are
Yeah.
both
And
JBs on the same page.
babies on the same page. I remember also, I don't know since you were in Canada, if you followed or you know, you were in the UK back then. If you followed Matt Landau much, but this was early days, Matt Landau, like 14, 15, 16, and I was one of his original group members, and he was teaching the steps to listing independence. And that's what he called it, listing independence. And so honestly, that's what I called it forever because it's just about building an independent business. And for me, that means all the channels. Yes, you want to book direct. Yes, I also promote having your own presence on the listing sites if you need them.
Yeah, definitely. But they need somewhere to book if outside of those, the guests need somewhere to book outside of those platforms. So
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yes. And more they're looking. You know, even Brian from Airbnb, Brian, I never can pronounce his name right, but even he has been like, okay, direct bookings are kind of hitting us a little bit. So it's definitely, I mean, I think it should be everybody's 2025 goal.
Yeah. No, I'd love that. I love that. Let's check in a year with everyone and see how they're doing because no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, you have stayed at an impressive amount of vacation rentals. And this, I think, is not just you being in this industry for so long and working with companies, property management companies and owners, but you are probably the most experienced guest that I know about. So, in the past 10 years or so, how many have you stayed at?
Oh, we're looking at 71 at this point, which we've really done a final count. And my husband and I, we only stay in vacation rentals now, unless we're going to be somewhere less than just like we're on the road, we're going to sleep somewhere overnight. But, you know, we've even had a lot of one night stays at vacation rentals. And a lot of times it's just because I have this extensive list and we want to check out a new place. It's fun for my husband and I both to do that. And it's actually part of my services now is to stay at a rental and give my feedback. So it's fun. And it does make a difference in my expertise and what I have learned is just being able to stay in all those places.
And how has that shaped the way you design websites for vacation rental owners?
I think most importantly, not only about the design of the website, but also just about the design of their business. It's understanding their avatar. And I preach this, all of us here in the industry preach the importance of understanding who you're creating a space for and how to market that space to that avatar. And so for me, staying at rentals, staying at all these properties, I have seen how they have elevated their experience for particular people. So one of the most favorite places that Michael and I've ever stayed, the place, I forgot the name, but it was Possum something. It was a fishing shack in South Louisiana. We love to fish. Apparently we love shacks, but I mean, it was really cool experience right on a swamp, fish from your deck, alligators behind. I mean, we saw an alligator standoff. It was super cool. And Annie, who was the owner, it was her grandfather's cabin. She made the experience for us, and her listing was written for us. No pretense, just a sweet lady with her grandpa's fishing shack, and everything about it was fantastic from the homemade biscuits she had left for us in Boudin the first morning to just everything about it, the hammock that swung out over the swamp. And so I'd already been working with hosts about their avatar and creating the space for them. But what she did that really helped me is the way she wrote her description. And that's when, and this was early, this was this was maybe 2015, 14, 15. And that's when I really started adding copywriting services as part of the overall website design, like really honing in on the guest avatar and everything I do with their website now. And so that's really what I say is my differentiator is I brand and build their website for those people, specifically for the people that are going to find it the most appealing.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Okay. So, your presentation at the 2024 Direct Booking Success Summit was about creating websites and that creating that digital front door. I love that. I love that phrase. And you emphasize that your website should have three primary goals: creating that FOMO, that fear of missing out, building trust, and converting visitors.
Yep.
So, can you explain a bit more about those goals and how they interconnect?
Yes. So, first of all, I'm going to start with digital front door and what that kind of means. It when they get to your website, they should see the professionalism and the overall experience. It's like you wouldn't have a photo on your website or listing, or you wouldn't even do this, have a messy entryway or dead flowers in the flower bed. You create a visually appealing space. And so often, this as well as I do, you see a website that looks, I mean, does not look visually appealing. So when you have a digital front door website, then you have a website that appeals to them instantly. Then 30 seconds, they're like, okay, this place is perfect. This place really has some pizzazz to its FOMO. So that's how that FOMO comes through. I also really believe in the photography, big, bold, sliding imagery, galleries that are pop up on your screen. That creates FOMO as well as the copywriting that you use to create that FOMO. Using words, it's not just about you're home away from home or some of those same words over and over again. It's really about elevating the writing and making it easy to understand, but also really pop for the user, the website user immediately. Also with FOMO, it's important to show lifestyle photos. I think that that's something that a lot of people have missed out on. And it's definitely something that I believe in, whether that's influencers or photos of your own family or whatever it is, showing it's not just about a swimming pool, it's about kids playing in the pool. And when people see that as part of the website and as part of even their listing photos, it puts themselves into that space. So that's the FOMO part of it. The trust part is, and this is another big thing. People are so hesitant to do this throughout, but when someone goes to Airbnb or VRBO or wherever listing site, they've seen advertising. They've seen marketing messages. They know of these businesses that are in the stock exchange. There's instant trust. And that's why they're willing to pay service fees. That's why they're willing to go through the process because that trust is there. But if they are booking direct with you, there's always going to be a little hesitation unless you have that really professional, trustworthy setup and design. I mean, they want to see modern, they want to see the messaging and the emblems and the pages that really mean, hey, we're a website, we're a business.
And I think also building that trust is about showing your face, isn't it? And it's
Free.
something that Airbnb, we know who the head of Airbnb is, but that's about it. He's not every property. He's not cleaning them. He's not seeing them. They're not his. So, showing how do you build that trust is showing your face. And we know that an About Us page is so important, isn't it? I think it's the second most viewed, usually, page. I know it's one that I always go to right away. I
It's
want to know who's behind the company.
I definitely do. And as the Gen Z and younger millennials grow older and start booking, it's very important to them to know who they're booking from. They're there to book from a small business, typically, many of them, and they want to know who that business owner is. And it's so hard to get some of the hosts that I work with to put themselves out there. And I get it, but it is just so important on that about page to really spell out who you are, why you're doing this, why you love hospitality or hosting, or Maybe you don't love hospitality and hosting, but maybe you love decorating and investing and creating a business for yourself. There's so many reasons. Everybody out there has a story of why they're in this business, and those stories, they just tell people that you're real, that you're honest. I'm also a huge proponent of business values and having those values front and center on your website because they also tell people that you can be trusted. Somebody that, well, Tyann, who you know, Tyann Morse, I forgot her. I know her last name, but she's got a married Hammond.
Yeah.
Tyann Hammond
Yeah.
worked with Touch Day, and she's worked in business, had her ranch and family retreats forever. Check out her About page because it tells the story of her love of this industry, starting out as a kid with her family rentals, building her own business. It's such a great example of a host who puts themselves out there and shares their story in a great way and also shares their value. She shares that she gives money to CASA, which is a great charity we have in the United States. I don't know if y'all have that in Canada, but it's a child advocacy program. It's just got a great mission. So many other hosts that I've worked with, they give money to maybe it's the sea turtle rescue or something like that. Those values are so important to people. And sharing the values, creating the values is something that I highly recommend putting on that about page, which I call the trust page. I call the about page the trust page.
We'll link to Tyann's website in the show notes so you can check that out if you want to have a look. She's a great storyteller, so I can imagine that her About Us page is top notch. And so creating that
Yeah.
FOMO and building that trust, is that what really converts visitors into bookings?
It definitely is the start of that. I mean, the FOMO makes them stay on the site and get excited. The next step is the trust, and it's much more than just the about page, but also do you have secure booking? Is your site secured? Is it using the HTTPS instead of the HTTP? Um, do you have social media sites? That's a trust builder. Do you have reviews? All those things are trust builders. And then that makes the conversion step easier. But conversion steps can't happen if you don't have your site really built for conversions. That means easy to find a booking button. You don't have to go through 14 pages to see all the things about your property. That happens a lot where reviews are on one page. The booking form is by itself on a page. Maybe there's a gallery on one page and it's just a jumbled mess of you want them to go click, click as soon as possible. And so conversions optimization is actually a real thing. It's an industry. I worked for a conversions optimization specialist part-time in the team in 14, 15, and 16. So I work for, his name is Chris Mercer. He's one of the leading conversion optimization specialists. He sent me to school to learn conversions optimization. And so that is an important part. The navigation is important. How, like I said, how easy it is to find the call to action and understand the call to action and what that means and have a PMS set up, hopefully, or at least an easy to use booking system so that they feel and see how it's easy. You find your dates, you book your dates, you pay for your dates, you sign a lease agreement. Yay, this is a professional setup.
Yeah. Yeah. No, brilliant. So I know you've worked with a lot of vacation rental owners and managers, and I know that you have probably seen even more websites out there in your research and your daily life. What are some of the common mistakes that you see out there on the websites that really hurt that trust building and those conversions? What mistakes do you see out there?
Top mistake, non professional photos. I'm good with an iPhone. I can take my own. Lighting is important. The breadth, the width, forgot what that piece of equipment is with the camera, but wide angle
Yeah.
lens, using tripods. Also making sure that your home is staged for guests. Smooth your sheets out. And I say these things and I harp on these things as well as I do. We see this all the time, even today. I mean, I did 2 websites this year where now I look at their photos before I even agree to the site because it is so important. And a lot of times the images are so tiny, you pop them up on the screen and they're this big and you can't see any details. So I would say photos are super important or that super big mistake. Not having video footage, if you can get it at all, is also, I think, a mistake moving forward. Video is so super important that I think not having video is a mistake. Not very much copy on the site. It will never be seen by Google if you are not using copy, and then using very generic copy is also a huge mistake. And then other mistakes are technical, not having that secure site, at HTTPS site, not having a fast site. So when people get to the site, it takes more than 30 seconds to load. They're out of there. They don't have time. They're at work and their boss is looking over their shoulder. They don't have time to deal with that, especially on mobile. I have a blog post actually with website mistakes that people can look up on my website that goes through. I think there's about 15 or 20 of them that I have listed there, but I would say these are the biggest.
Great. Oh no, there's some good ones there. And give me that link and I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Oh,
That's a great idea. And you were saying at the beginning today that you want guests to come to that website and say, this is the place, that first impression. This is the place that we want to stay at. And can you maybe talk us through why that is so important, but also how that allows us to be different than listings on Airbnb or Verbo?
one thing I think people need to think about as they're thinking about their website is the difference in how the user found your site. So when someone goes to Verbo, they are there, typically will put in their dates. They know the availability. They see a selection of properties and they get this little snippet of maybe a couple of photos, maybe a real quick headline. They pop in there and they can decide based on photos, the description, whatever. Different people do different things first. Many people want to look at the rates first. Many people want to read the description first. I'm a photo person. I want to slide through the photos and read the captions. So that is one of the ways that you can differentiate yourself from the listing sites is, or not, and differentiate isn't the right word. Really, the word is stay competitive. You want to be competitive with the listing sites. You want it to be just as easy for somebody to come to your site, quickly see the rates, quickly see the availability, and know that the property is there and available. And so then they can decide. Then they can see if there's enough bathrooms for all their 8 kids, or the beach is just a few steps away, or whatever it is that they are looking for.
Great. Yeah. No, wonderful. And what about the future? We've talked about the past. We've talked about what's going on now and how to sort of stand out and stay competitive with the big sites. But what do you think of the future in vacation rental website design specifically? Is there anything coming up on the horizon that is going to help us little guys?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is the Google vacation rentals now is pretty much in full swing. If you're not with a PMS company that can integrate your site with Google vacation rentals, then you need to be. I know Owner Res has that feature. I believe Hospitable does. I'm sure Lodgify. I know that probably, hopefully, most of them are able to help you with that connection. But that's going to be a big thing. I mean, yesterday or day before, I was booking a flight to Orlando for the podcasting summit. And as soon as I booked my flight through Google Vacation Rentals, through Google Flights, then the next thing was Google Vacation Rentals popped up. I guess they know that I'm a vacation rental company, vacation rental user. And so that popped up right away. And that's going to lead people directly to your website and actually directly to your property page of your website. So that's important. Another big important change is the SEO. AI technology is just going to revolutionize and change SEO. I believe by the end of 2025, everybody is going to be needing to rethink their SEO strategy, to think more about how they can show up in these AI. And now when you go to Google and you Google something, the very first thing at the top is the AI answer. And they basically take the first page or two of Google and condense it into answers. So figuring out how to be in those answers is going to be super important for 2025.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
space to really watch, isn't it?
it is, and I am watching it. I'm continually learning and have been learning more and more about AI and trying to figure it out on my own. I've started using a site called Perplexity and have seen some ways that some people are showing up there with their website. So that's pretty interesting. One more thing that I think is going to be really important for 2025 and moving forward is video. It, like I said a few minutes ago, it is ever important. People are used to seeing video now on all the social media. So they want to see kind of that experience in video. So whenever I have a host that either has video already or is embracing video, then that we put that all over their website from their header gallery to throughout the site in its entirety and also in little mini clips throughout.
Yeah, it's not an emerging thing anymore. It's something that needs to be on the websites.
Definitely, definitely. And drone footage is fairly inexpensive now to get. And it's, I think, super important. A lot of photographers now are also, offering that as a service. So it's pretty easy to get that while you're doing the photography.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really great. And it's just lovely to see the space, isn't it? To see the surroundings. There's no crazy surprise when you get there and you find out that there's a building right up against you or something like that. You have the full
Yeah,
picture.
you have a full picture, and even I mean, a lot of people say, "Well, I don't want to show the building right beside me," or "I don't want to show the ugly," or whatever it is. But you want your guests to know what's to expect. There's going to be people that are going to choose your property regardless. You want to be honest and upfront with them in your imagery and videos. So show it at your best light, but also be truthful.
Yeah, I love that. Love that, Jody. That's such a good tip there. Really, really good one. I thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for supporting the Direct Booking Success Summit again in 2024. And I hope you'll be back in 2025. We can talk about that for sure. Because you bring such a wealth of knowledge in marketing, but also, your experience working with vacation rental owners and staying at their properties, which I just find fantastic. I just think that is so amazing that that is part of what you're doing in your day to day to support the industry as well. And you've got something that you wanted to offer, didn't you, as part of this conversation to those listening?
Yes, I did. And I offered it actually during the summit. So I know there's probably a lot of people listening that didn't participate or weren't able to participate or haven't had time since to participate. But so I have yeah, I'm so proud of this. It's called an about page copy prompt. And even if you don't have a website or aren't quite ready to build your website, this is such a good exercise in going through and understanding your story, writing your story, and business values, mission statement, all the pieces and parts that create that trust on your about page. I have a couple of custom chat GPT prompts that I've added to it so you can quickly click into chat GPT and kind of finesse your language. I've been using this with clients for about 6 months now and get nothing but positive feedback. At first, they're like, wait a minute, I have to do all this. And then I'm like, you don't have to, but I promise you it's going to be great. And then at the end, they're like, wow, this was great. So you can, I guess, link to that in the show notes. I think it's a really important thing. And I think is going to be super important for 2025 to really differentiate yourself with a great about page.
Yeah, and I know it's hard. I've heard about it for years from clients who've said, "I don't know what to say," and that
Mhm.
fear of oversharing or being too out there. And there is a way to do it. It's an art form. So I love that you've created these tools. It's amazing.
Yeah. One thing about it too, that I go through a lot of the businesses I've worked with and some that I haven't, like tie-ins, pages linked in there and really show like, here's a really good example of what I mean by values. Here's a great example of a story that connects your audience with your rentals. So that's another really great part of that is it's not just here, write this. It's let's see it in action.
Love it. Thank you, Jody. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. And if course, I'll be back in 2025. Last year, I will plug myself. Last year, I had a lady reach out and said, I want to do the Direct Booking Success Summit, but I want to make sure you're going to be there first. And I was like, I said, yes, I'm going to be there. Of course, I love Jen and would do anything for her. But she said, there's so many great speakers, but I really get a lot from some of the things that you've taught. And so I want to, be sure that you're going to be there. So that was great.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
No, and
What Cabaret is so fantastic. If anybody's listening that didn't go, hasn't been, there's so many great speakers that people may not have heard a lot from in other places, which I think is brilliant that you do that. And I listen to almost every video. Usually I listen to all of them because people are really smart and have different experiences and skill sets. And I think it's really such a great thing you've done for the industry by creating that. And I remember talking about it before you even started it. You and I talked through it. So
yeah.
cheers to you,
Oh,
friend.
Well, thank you so much for your support. Really, it means a lot. And the check is in the mail. I'll send that down to you for this wonderful compliment. So thank you again, Jody, and we'll be seeing more of you this year. Thank you.
Bye.
A huge thank you to Jody for coming on the Direct Booking Success podcast. It was great to see you, and you gave such amazing advice. Now, until next time, go out and take action for your own direct booking success.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Direct Booking Success podcast. For more information about this episode and others, head to the website directbookingsuccess.com/podcast. See you next time.